And roll.
Broadcasting the boisterous part of the fastest game in the world. So strap on your legs and lace them up, Rook. You're listening to the Barn Chirpers Hockey Podcast. Take a lap. Clap it up, boys. Clap it up. Welcome back to the Barn Chirpers Hockey Podcast. You know where to find us at Barn Chirpers Pod and all that good stuff. Captain, up close and personal. I guess I'm up close and personal too. If you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you hit the bell and the subscribe and all that stuff. You guys know what to do. To start the week off, we hate starting off on this type of a note, but we did say we were going to update as more details were released, and more details were released on the 2018 Team Canada sexual assault case. Again, we won't speculate on anything. We're not going to do any of that, but the NHL did release the 5 names of the players that were essentially told to surrender to London, Ontario police. That is Dylan Dubé, Carter Hart, Michael McLeod, Alex Formington, and am I missing the last one?
Cal Foote.
Cal Foote, yeah. So the NHL did release that. Again, this is an ongoing investigation, so as more details, facts are released, we will report on that. We won't speculate on anything else. So weird segue time. There isn't one for that.
Yeah,
that's
well.
Way to kick things off.
Well, here's the thing: is I mean, you know, there's never a good time for something like this to happen, but like, there's no hockey or there's not much hockey because
there's a couple games, but it's All-Star break. Yeah,
it's All-Star break. So, you know, this is the news, and unfortunately, it doesn't have anything for us to discuss yet. There's nothing official in any other way except that now we know that officially these are the 5 players that are being charged with sexual assault, that there are charges being levied against them. All 4, I haven't seen anything from Formington because technically, like, Senators own his rights, but they shipped him off to the KHL. The other 4 players have all denied it. So those are the facts. That's all we know about this thing yet. Still doesn't. There's nothing further to say about it right now.
Exactly.
But it is All-Star break, and you know, you sent me the Cody gif of, so what do you guys want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the All-Star game? I mean, it is going to be. It starts tomorrow at the time of this recording on Thursday. The All-Star weekend kicks off. You had mentioned, or you had thought of, how do you want to talk about how to fix the All-Star game? And I thought that was interesting because I like the format in the sense of the skills competition. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I do love the new setup of the skills this year. I think it's puts some stakes on the line. There's $1 million at stake. And I like the setup of 8 events that I think 5, each guy can choose 5 and most points and what have you. So I like the setup of that. I also like that the PWHL gets a 3-on-3 showcase. The game itself, I like that they turned it into the 3-on-3 divisional. Whenever they did that a handful of years ago, I don't remember. Again, this is funny that we're having this conversation because I don't really pay much attention to the All-Star game because it doesn't really matter. But I do like that they switched to the 3-on-3 format. I do remember growing up, it was 5-on-5 games. So I like that they switched to the 3-on-3 format. Other than that, there's not much going for it, I don't think. I don't really care for it that much, I suppose. I wish that – here's the thing, and I get it because I understand all the teams need to be represented because with sponsorships – there are sponsors that sponsor teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets, like the San Jose Sharks, like the Chicago Blackhawks, that they have terrible teams, but sponsors are giving them money So they, and again, and fans too, that maybe only watch their teams, which interesting, but so they want to see their guys or their teams represented at the All-Star game. So I get it in the sense of like, well, we don't want to lose this sponsor for X team, right? So I get all that, having a player represented for every team at the All-Star game. What I don't like is like, these guys aren't All-Stars. Like Boone Jenner, good player, not an All-Star.
No.
Sat out most of this year already.
Yeah.
Selected as the All-Star. I think they replaced him or whatever, but still, like, there's just because, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we have to put somebody in there. So I guess if I was going to fix the All-Star game, and I don't know what the answer is, but how can we represent every team without having to put somebody in said game, right? Where the 3-on-3 can actually be the guys that are top of the standings doing. And even if, to that same point, like maybe you have a great defenseman who doesn't really put up a lot of points, right? Like a Devin Taves, right? He's a great defenseman. He doesn't really put up a lot of points, but he's a great defenseman. You know what I mean? So I don't really know what the answer is, but I guess the first thing that I would go to try and to fix the All-Star game to where it's a little more meaningful, maybe a little more stakes on the line, is let's have actual All-Stars in there still represent all the teams some other way. That's kind of the way that I would start.
Well, you stumbled on something that, like, I think is the core, the core of this entire discussion. And it's not just hockey. Like, every sport has this problem. Who cares about the All-Star game? Who pays attention to the All-Star game? No one. And again, that's every sport. Like, I mean, the Pro Bowl in the NFL had its moment in the sun where people cared about it. They moved it out of Hawaii and it became this big, I mean, it always was a big exhibition game, but it became even more so. With hockey, I mean, I vaguely remember, obviously, in the 90s, because, Super Mario, the end of Gretzky's career, like, I remember those players being in those games, but I remember them being all-stars, but I don't remember actually paying attention to, like, the actual games. And, Marty was there, of course, but, like, I don't remember, like, caring. Like, I don't remember going out of my way to watch the NHL All-Star game. So it's not a new situation for the NHL. It just seems to have gotten worse. Like you said, I do love, I think propping up the skills competition is smart. I think that's a good way of showing off talent. And honestly, I think, to your point about, like, trying to figure out a way, I think that's how you do it. Is the 3-on-3s should be literally just all-stars. They should be picked. They should just be the cream of the crop, best players, like top goalies, top defenders, top wingers, that are going to put on a really good 3-on-3 exhibition game. Where you get every team involved is those skill competitions, because there's going to be players who are really good at X, Y, or Z. That,
yeah, I mean, they are NHL players, so, like, they're great hockey players. In any other situation, right? They were all at some point or another the best player on their team, right? They made it to the NHL, so, like, they're great hockey players. So like you said, I mean, maybe that's where you represent the other teams, is your skill competitions. And why couldn't the skill competition be more than just one day or one night, right?
exactly,
Maybe carry that on, much like if we're talking about athletics, like the CrossFit Games is multiple days. If you're looking at, like, the PGA Tour, they have a whole weekend of playing golf, right? Tennis, right? Those are multiple day things where you're essentially working through a tournament, right? Why couldn't we have that where the skills take place over multiple days, right? Then you can represent every single team for the guys that don't make it to the 3-on-3. And then all of a sudden you have your 3-on-3 day, right? Where that's your own mini tourney. So maybe that's, and it'll never happen, but
of course not.
it's a fun idea though.
Yeah. No, it just, the game doesn't matter, and there's no way. Again, this isn't new to NHL or sports. Like the closest thing to a success, the two closest things to a success are the home run derby in baseball, is a relatively big deal, and the dunk contest in the NBA, which even that has taken, like, all the best players don't do the dunk contest anymore. So really they need to figure out, they really should be honing in on these skills challenges and finding out the one that is going to impress the outside eyeballs the most, so they can have a dunk contest, they can have a home run derby, that they can go, all right, so this is the breakout, this one event needs its own night, all these other ones can take two nights, and then here's our three versus three. Suddenly there's 4 days of hockey content that people may actually pay attention to. The game itself is never there's no, like I said, that's why you have to get just the best of the best. Because I like 3v3 a lot. I really like watching 3v3 hockey. But there's barely any chance that I'm going to watch the All-Star game this week. I mean, like, it's this much,
if any. Yeah. So like
yeah,
last year in Florida, I actually enjoyed how they did some off the ice events, right? They did like golf shots and they did whatever dunk tank wrist shots, right? I actually enjoyed those events because it was different and it wasn't on the ice. Obviously, it wasn't great for the crowd that was there because they had to watch the Tron, right, of events that were
right.
recorded earlier in the day. And the rumor, or I guess the news, the reporting was the players didn't really care for it because they would get warmed up for an event and then they got cold, waiting for the next one. So logistically, it didn't make a lot of sense. But I liked that idea because I actually watched the skills last year because Florida was the difference, right? So you've played some NHL on the game. Ever played the 3v3 tournament on there on the game?
No, I haven't. I think I hopped
Okay.
in.
Well, so you want to
It, nothing
so
important.
you won't understand this, but there must be a delay as always. But so in the game on Chell over the last couple of years, 3 versus 3, every so often there would be like a money puck. So
Mm.
it would be worth 2, right? Or it would be worth 3, or it would be a negative, right? So I don't understand. I don't know exactly how this would work in real time, but the 3v3 game could be more interesting with something like that. Like, okay, all of a sudden now you've ran up the score. You've put a 6 spot on there. Okay, well, guess what? Maybe you've scored 3 goals in 30 seconds, whatever. Because it happens all the time on that 3v3 game. In real life, I'm talking about for this case.
Mhm.
Okay, here's a money puck. Well, now the team that's down, throw a money puck out there. Okay, this is worth 2 goals. I think that something like that would be interesting. That might get more people to watch as well. Take the aspects of the video game, figure out how to put it into real life because that's fun. Like, oh, guess what? Mystery puck. It might be -0. It might be -3. It might be +10. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Something like that might be fun.
Well, and I see that they've sort of taken advantage of kind of the next thing I would say. Um, I don't. You're a couple years younger than me, but like MTV used to do Rock and Jock basketball, and it would be like rock and rollers. There would be basketball players, and they would do like, first of all, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was really good in these games. Like, he was really good, but they'd have like a 10-point shot and they'd have like all these, different rules. But that's involving celebrity. Hockey desperately needs celebrities that are really into hockey. This year I saw there's like Bieber is involved because it's in Toronto. Will Arnett is involved. I love Will Arnett, but I don't think that's going to move the needle. um, on hockey play. And two other names that aren't coming to my head, but I think that's moving in the right direction. You need to find these celebrity avatars that love hockey. CM Punk loves hockey. Um, I don't know how there isn't some sort of working relationship between the WWE, CM Punk, and the NHL. Like that
Yeah.
seems like a big wasted opportunity. But I feel like that's the next thing, right? Like is get some sort of celebrity involvement that's going to go, okay, let me go see what. Oh, CM Punk is going to coach this 3v3. That's cool. I'm into that. Let me see what's going to happen here. Like something along those lines.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a celebrity involvement. I guess in the last thing that I would say that could be, um, uh, it would, you're essentially taking the goalies out of it, which you're missing some prime all stars, right? But think of it like a setup 3v3 like pond hockey. So there's no goalie and it's a teeny tiny net,
Mm,
right? Um,
uh-huh.
so again, you're taking the goalies out of the All-Star game now, but maybe you can throw that into like the skills competition. But that would be interesting and set it apart from the regular game, right? That we see all the time. Now all of a sudden, it's still in the rink, right, in the actual barn, but pond hockey setup. Maybe it's half the ice and just little mini nets. It's a different idea. I don't know if it would play well on actual TV showing that, but it would give you a different look than what we normally see. And maybe that's honestly, like, I feel that anything that looks different from what we normally see could be a big boost to the All-Star game for the NHL, in my vibe,
But
in
that's
my
just
eyes.
that I think because everything we've said so far, I think is spot on. Not to pat our own backs here, but like I think I think you accidentally hit on it.
Of course.
It's never going to happen crowd because it's the NHL. The NHL really does need to try. Like the NHL doesn't have the luxury that Major League Baseball has of moving at a snail's pace. Like baseball can do that because they've been around forever, and even though they're not the most the most favorite league, they're third, right? Probably. It probably does go NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. And NHL is like probably if this is MLB, this is NHL. Like, but they don't have the NHL needs to be a lot more progressive with their ideas. They need to, we talked about, the pride tape coming off earlier this year. Like they can't, the NHL audience is already small enough. Like you can't be like you really need to expand this hockey is for everyone idea and bring everybody under the tent and show them why guys like you and I love this sport. And that is what the All-Star game is supposed to be. Show why we love the sport. Here's the best of the best. Here's them having fun. Here's some outside of the box ideas for that.
Yeah, agreed to everything you said. There's really much else to put on top of that. Again, will it ever happen? Definitely not while Gary Bettman is the commissioner. And funny enough, I never really truly understood why he always got booed until I started getting more into the, I guess, quote unquote, behind the scenes, paying more attention to how we put this show together now. Now I understand fully why he gets booed. He is a terrible commissioner, and I
Mhm.
wish there was a petition somehow that we can fire Gary Bettman because he's terrible for the NHL. He's terrible for any type of leadership role. If we swear in this podcast, I would say some expletives at this point, but obviously I'm not going to do that because PG. But Gary Bettman is a terrible commissioner. He's been in power too long for a league that should be moons above where it is. But we've said that a million times over, and I'm sure we'll say it again in this podcast. But moving on, as we said, it is, I mean, there's been a couple games over the last couple days, and there's, I think, two more tonight before we actually go into the All-Star break through the weekend. So not really any stats or news or 3 stars to talk about, but a couple notable things did happen over the past week. First thing, Justin, Owen Tippett of the Philadelphia Flyers, we thought he might be some trade bait, but nope. Signs an 8-year deal last Friday, 8 years, and I don't have or $8.25 million for Owen Tippett. What is your first initial thought on that signing, and where do you think? I mean, I guess where the Flyers going with that? Do you
So
think?
so two things that excites me about that signing. Again, like I hate to preface this, oh, Devils fan, oh, I hate the Flyers, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that is known at this point, but like it is also known I love good hockey. So that said, two things. You love seeing the rewards for a guy who's going out there and playing. Owen Tippett goes out there and, you know, maybe he's not lighting the world on fire necessarily, but like he is playing well and he's getting rewarded for it. You'll love to see it. And that means that the Flyers aren't just going to lay down for the rest of the season. They may run out of gas and they may fall out of playoff, contention, but they're not going to do it on purpose. Again, put that under the column of things we love to see here. I love the fact that they're not going to be sellers. Maybe they're not buyers, but they're going to roll out with what they got and they're going to give their all to try to make the playoffs. We're talking about a team that should have been in the basement. Like by all means, everything that we saw, they should be in the basement, and they're not. They're a couple points at this point, a couple points at a third, but not that far out of first either. So, I think this is big things for Philadelphia, and I hope.
And excuse me, it was 6.2, not 8.
Oh, okay. And I mean, last thing I'll say is, hopefully the only thing I hope is that this is not shooting them in the foot for next season. Hopefully, this makes them a prime landing spot for some free agents next year, as opposed to just really screwing over their draft stock.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it'll depend on as we get closer to the deadline where they sit. Right now, you would think that they would be buyers. I'm not sure what their assets look like. If only we had a Philadelphia Flyers insider that was on the show that we talked about for years to do. But I still think they're probably going to try to, go forward since they're in a prime playoff spot. But time will tell. Another team that made a signing, one that kind of was questionable to me. They signed Zach Parise. The Colorado Avalanche signed Zach Parise, 1 year, $825K. So, essentially a 1 year deal. And really that means a half a year deal because his contract will be up at the end of the year. But I don't really understand this signing by the Avs. Zach Parise constantly injured. I guess putting a depth guy in your lineup in case somebody else gets hurt, maybe, I guess is the way I see it. I don't know. I don't know why you would sign Zach Parise, honestly. Not the guy I would spend $825K on.
So I think when you sent that to me, mine was, you need a 13th sweater. I mean, like it doesn't make any. When's the last time has? Yeah. When's the last time he's done when he was with us? When he was with the Devs, he was the captain of the Devils. They go to the Cup, but after that, he goes to Minnesota, underperforms. I know he played in for the Isle, underperforms. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to take a run at him as a player necessarily, but I also don't understand what need he is filling in Colorado. I don't. They had Thomas Tatar like earlier in the year, who is probably a better version of that.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'm not. I know all the things I just said 2 minutes ago. I'm really not trying to tear the guy down. I'm just, if I was going to spend $825K, I'd spend it on somebody that produced a little bit more at this point in their career, and he just doesn't do it. So, yeah, depth guy, I suppose, in case somebody gets injured. I don't think Colorado really needs that right now. They need a goaltender, a backup goaltender, because Georgiev can't play every single game. And right now he's on pace for, I think, 67 games. So good luck with that. But staying out west, this is a really cool stat. I'm really, really happy I don't remember exactly what I said when we talked about Vancouver in that episode. But again, we say this all the time because they're surprising us right now. They're proving us wrong. We were so bored of what we looked at on paper with Vancouver, and Brock Besser becomes a 30-goal scorer for the first time in his career. This happened, a couple of days ago, but I was so happy to essentially be proven wrong and see this stat. I think I've given him crap in the past on this show, but I'm really happy to see Brock Besser being a 30-goal scorer. Like, this is the guy that he was supposed to be, and that's why I gave him crap in the past, because he was talked up to be this type of guy. And I kept saying, "Show me." Well, hey, I'll eat dog food on this one. Like, thank you for showing me, and congratulations and stick taps, Brock Besser, for having a career year.
Yeah, again, like, file that under things we love to see here, because there's very few instances where you can go, Justin, you're really wrong about something, and I'm gonna go, cool. Like, if I'm coming into the season being bored by the Rangers and the Isles, and then they turn out to be good, I'm gonna be like, oh well, I wish I would have been right about that. But the Canucks, the Jets, Brock Besser specifically, being much better than we expected. Oh, that's huge. I love to see it. And yeah, just to echo, stick taps, Brock Besser. Love to see it.
Something that is not stick taps, Justin. Senators' new head coach, Jacques Martin. The Senators are allowing an NHL worst 4 goals per game since Jacques Martin took over as head coach, and their winning percentage is less than 4. So their winning percentage right now is like .375 since Jacques Martin took over. I think that 375 is correct. It's terrible. They can't win a game since Martin took over. I mean, I think at the time of this recording, they just won the other night or last night,
Yeah.
whichever day you listen to this. But they're not good. They are not good still.
I don't get it. I really don't. Like, again, I mean, you can't win hockey games on paper, but everything about that team screams, maybe not, top of the conference contenders, but like, they should be somewhere in this playoff hunt, a couple points out maybe, but like, they're just awful. And it bums me out. Not only because, again, this is a situation where this is that exact situation. Justin, you were wrong. I hate this. This is one I hate being wrong about. I don't want the Senators to stink this bad. And now the rumor mill suggests that Chich wants out, like he wants to get out of there. After just last year, DeBrincat came for like a cup of coffee and said, "Get me the heck out of here too." That doesn't bode well. And you brought in Corpy, which both of us were pretty high on. I thought that was a good signing. Not getting it done. Like, it seems like a whole lot of nobody getting anything done in Ottawa. I think Stützle is having a decent season, Batherson. But I don't know that there's anything else of note to mention about the Ottawa Senators this year. So, yikes.
They stink. That's all. USA Hockey does approve legislation requiring use of neck protection for players under 18. We talked about this probably a couple months ago when it first came up. So that rule will go into effect this year, August 1st, 2024, ahead of essentially, the next season, right? So that's great. Stick taps to USA Hockey for doing something to protect young players, and hopefully the same thing carries on. I mean, you see it now. There's a lot of players wearing that neck protection in the NHL. So I hope that also carries to the NHL too. I mean, I guess in a way, I suppose you don't have to make it mandatory for the NHL, since there is some guys that are grandfathered in with the visor rule as well. You see some guys like Jamie Benn don't wear a visor. They're grandfathered in with that rule. But I don't know, man. I feel like this is one of those things that you almost should make it mandatory, so another player doesn't have an unfortunate loss of life, right? We would hate to see that. And where you could really seriously just take the stand and like, nope, this is mandatory starting next season. you can at least take action, and instead look back in hindsight like, oh man, we should have taken action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
In a
I feel
situation
like
like
it's
in a
that's
situation delay is killing me. I will you say your thing and then I'll say mine.
period. Go.
I it in a situation like this, it is better to overreact. And the overreaction here would be, hey, let's make this mandatory, right? And again, what is the worst thing that happens? Some players have to complain about having to protect their neck. Uh let's say they don't do it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Well, we just saw it. Um
Yes.
so if it continues as it is, that could happen here in the NHL. And I mean, for myriad reasons, the NHL does not need that. I mean, financially, obviously, the loss of life just in and of itself, like the preciousness of life, uh, it's a nightmare. Take the stand, do the right thing for once, and say, you know what, we're gonna make this mandatory. Better to overreact and go, hey, look, this is about you guys, than to have to apologize later. Period.
A note here: I won't kick a guy when he's down. But Patrick Laine has entered the NHLPA Player Assistance Program. He did release a statement. It is to take care of his mental health. I've been critical of this guy for a long time. I'm not going to kick a guy when he's down. I do wish the best that he takes care of his mental health, and hopefully he can come back to the Blue Jackets sooner rather than later, and hopefully number one, be healthy, but be able to just get back on the ice in general.
Just to tag on to that, like if this was the problem all along, then shame on whoever's in his life who didn't get him to take this step sooner. Because we talk about this a lot on this show, like mental health is priority number one, hockey's priority number two. If it's a short list of mental health, hockey, whatever, you got to take care of you. And if he's been not great on the ice because of mental health reasons, then shame on, if whether it be teammates who are oh, don't be a p word, whether it be coaches, don't be a p word, whether it be family members just not giving them the support, whatever reason, shame on them. Maybe it's just him, maybe he just didn't want to take care of it. If that's the case, then I'm glad he's there now where he wants to get the help, man. And we'll chirp you on the other side of it. Get better, get well, get on the ice, and so we can chirp you about being not a great player. Smiles.
Yeah, exactly. I do want you to be. I want everybody playing the game to be at the top of their game, so that way, if they're not performing, then we can chirp them for it. But again, in all seriousness, well wishes, Patrick Laine. Hopefully, you get better soon. Another guy that it is the New York Rangers, so we kind of like to see that, but we don't love to see that Philip Hedl is out for the remainder of the season due to concussion complications. We don't love to see that for anybody. That does hurt the Rags lineup. So we a little bit like to see that, but not in this case,
Right.
especially not concussion issues. Having had them myself, I get wishing Philip Hedl all the best, and hopefully, obviously, he's out for the season. So, hey, the Rags will get that cap space back. I guess is the good part of this. There's no good part of it of concussion issues or any issue, but in all seriousness, well wishes to Philip Hedl and get better soon.
I guess Capo Caco, Capo Caco's on the trade block apparently. So I mean, if you want to talk business, uh that's the only way to spin this positive is if you want to talk business. Now you have an asset and a little bit of cap space to make a move on the division that you're slowly losing. The Canes are walking them down. But yeah, man, like you hate to see it on
It's true.
on an injury, but you really hate to see it on a brain injury. Like it's one thing. Like I see a lot of people making fun of the Devs because Jack Hughes is hurt, and it's like that. I don't. That just doesn't sit well with me, man. Like you're seeing a team struggle because a player got hurt. Like that makes you not a great human. Again, humanity first and foremost, please. Uh, I hate the Rangers. And this guy makes the Rangers better. So, like, yes, there is that part of me that's like, okay, the Rangers come back down to earth, but like this is a brain injury. Um, go get that taken care of course. Well wishes. If you're a Devils fan talking about this is great, I don't like you. Please don't like my team anymore. Period.
We'll head out here on a couple of good notes. Vancouver Canucks president and hockey operations Jim Rutherford, who extended, announced today that general manager Patrick Alvin has signed a multi-year contract extension. So both the president of hockey operations and the general manager for the Vancouver Canucks have signed multi-year extensions, and we know Talk is there for a few more years as well. This is a great thing for the Vancouver Canucks. Guys that are in charge put this team together. So they're going to be together for the management team will be together for at least a few more years. So that's fingers crossed to see the Vancouver Canucks make a big run over these next couple of years, or I'll say a consistent run over these next couple of years, and maybe bring a cup back to Canada. Finally, I do pause, comma. I do actually think I'll make a bold prediction that Vancouver will be the first Canadian team to bring a cup back first. I do think that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I guess to that point, man, like I hope this isn't just a one-off for them. Again, even just earlier this episode, we talked about how bored we were with them going into the season, but hopefully this isn't just some sort of fluke. I mean, so far this season, they've proven it to not be, but that doesn't mean that rolls over into next season after. I hope this is some sustained success, and whether that means a cup this year or, they're this theoretically their cup window is just now opening. And I hope that it doesn't get slammed shut this year. Like I guess is my point. I hope that they are a team that we're talking about in contention for the next 4 years, and really bold, friend, to I mean, I don't know. Like I can't disagree, because I don't I could see Winnipeg doing it this year. But there's so many good hockey teams out there. Like I don't think Winnipeg's window is open as long, I guess is the point I'm trying to hammer home here. Is I feel like Winnipeg may be a little fluky. I mean, they shouldn't be. They have all the parts, but it might be a little fluky. Whereas Vancouver's kind of built for at least the next 4 or 5 seasons, and as long as they execute, I think it's much more likely that Vancouver does than Winnipeg does. I hope that made sense. Period.
It definitely did make sense for sure. And the last bit of news, because it is major news, the Edmonton Oilers have won 16 games in a row. They are one shy of the all-time record held by the Pittsburgh Penguins of the 92-93. So they very well could beat that and continue on and make a larger record. The Edmonton Oilers have vaulted themselves into third in the Pacific, and they still have they have 4 games in hand to Vancouver and 5 games in hand on Vegas, who those 2 teams are above them right now in the Pacific. So, I mean, stand back. There's an oil train coming through. I mean, they're going to lose at some point. It's going to happen. It'll be how they recover from that after being on such a win streak. That'll be the true test. So I guess I'll hand you this, Justin. Pass or shoot, oil win streak will go to 20 games. 20-game win streak.
So I hate to do it, but I think I got to. I think I got to pass.
Before you answer, let me give you your next games.
All right.
Too late.
Too late.
No. So their next games will be Vegas, Anaheim, LA, Detroit. Those are the next 4 games. Period.
All right. I still got to pass. Because number one, Vegas was the first one you said, and playing Vegas off of the break. The break was the biggest reason I was going to give. Was a team that hot has to come off the ice for, at that point it'll be probably about a week. That's, if that Anaheim game was first one back, maybe they can stay on it. I don't know, man. Vegas finally getting some rest. Maybe they get some of their players back. Maybe they can come back 100%. Maybe they can get in Edmonton's way. I feel like I'm playing the math here. The math says they can't get to 20. I also haven't watched a lot of them since they started the streak other than the Devils game. So take that with a grain of salt. What do you think, man? Like, are they going to get the 20? Is that why you asked me?
I was just kind of overshooting a little bit. I was thinking the same thing that you said. I mean, if they were still just playing, then I think probably no doubt they'll get to 20. But having the break, you got to go to the All-Star game, do all that, travel for that, and then come all the way back. I mean, they are on the West Coast, but to go from East Coast, right? The game is on the 3rd, so the game is on Saturday, and then travel all the way back to the West Coast to play on Tuesday. I don't know. I just think that's a lot. You're probably, I mean, again, I know Vegas is going to have to play as well, but Vegas doesn't really have anything on the line. So I feel like they probably do lose to Vegas and breaks the streak. And then they'll end up going on another heater because they can easily beat Anaheim, LA, and Detroit. But I think Vegas does break the streak.
There we go. It's crazy how often you and I are on the same wavelength on this stuff. Like, I don't know. That's just the way it is, I guess. Period.
It would be a lot better show probably if we were more contrarian, but truly we don't really talk about a lot of this stuff ahead of time. Anybody that's listening, we just like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. All right, cool. And then we discuss it on the show. So we really don't discuss a lot of things other than the rundown of what we're going to talk about, just so everybody knows. So anyway, it is the All-Star game and skills and all that this week. If nothing else, check out the PWHL showcase. That's tomorrow. Well, I guess you're probably hearing this today. It's Thursday. I think the showcase is on Thursday. Check it out. Definitely watch PWHL, and the skills is on Friday, and the All-Star game is on Saturday, if my math is correct, or whatever. Yeah, we'll call it math. So we'll be back with a regular episode, probably 3 stars and all that next week. More than likely, unless it's a really boring week again. We'll see what happens. But until then, keep your head up, play to the whistle, stick taps and sellies, boys. Clap it up.
Yeah.